Welcome back to the CEO Mindset Podcast. I'm Andrea Patrick, your host, and I'm so happy that you are joining me today. Subscribe if a CEO mindset is something you want to obtain and you want to find the intersection where your work and life coexist. The sky is the limit when you're clear about your value, consistent in the way you share said value, and you're upfront and honest about who you are while sharing it. There are so many examples to follow and learn from. Let's get into today's, shall we? I want to let you know that we are counting down to the final episode of this season. Yes, that's right. We are going to be finishing up and wrapping up the season at the end of November this year. So I've decided to do a series and I'm super excited about it. The series is on personal mastery, personal branding, and developing opportunities. So for the next 3 weeks, that's what we'll be talking about. And then the final week, we're going to do sort of a wrap up of everything that happened over the course of the season. So please stick around. Make sure you are subscribed to the podcast. And let me just tell you, you know how at the beginning of the year, I told you one of my lessons was done is better than perfect. Well, that is more true today than you realize. I had to get this podcast recorded and filmed, and I decided to just do it while I was sitting in my car because this is the time that I have. So anyway, today I want to talk to you about something that is very important. You can't master your business, your brand, your career if you don't know how to master yourself. I have a question for you. Are you actually in control of yourself, or are you allowing fear, overwhelm, imposter syndrome, and other people to lead your life for you? By the end of this video, you will know what personal mastery really means, how to practice it daily, and why it is the secret weapon behind many of those successful people that you're looking up to. Okay, so before we even get into this any further, let me give you my definition of personal mastery. I plugged a bunch of stuff into ChatGPT about what I believe it is and asked it to give me a very concise definition based on what I said, and this is what it gave me. Personal mastery is the art of becoming the best version of yourself. Sound familiar? Not by hustling harder, but by aligning who you are, what you believe, and how you show up every day. Now, you should know that that came directly from me. It's knowing your strengths, owning your blind spots, and making intentional choices that move you closer to your purpose instead of staying busy. For all of you ambitious bosses out there, it's that sweet spot where clarity meets confidence, where you stop chasing validation and start living in alignment with your true power. Guys, it's not about perfection. It's about power. It's the power to stay grounded, to stay focused, and stay intentional, even when life throws you curveballs. In my 20 plus years of serving clients with marketing, strategy, consulting on business systems and processes, I've got 20 plus years, guys, close to 30. I have empowered countless people to love themselves, to lead themselves better, and then to take what they know about themselves, the best version of themselves, and leverage it to create opportunities for themselves. And that's why personal mastery is so important, because in order to develop those opportunities that are going to give you the success that you're wanting, that you're looking for, you've got to know yourself, and you've got to know how to lead yourself first before you can ever dream of leading others in a very successful way. Let's talk about personal mastery and what it actually looks like for you. All right, there are 3 core pillars to personal mastery. The first is self-awareness, then it's emotional regulation, or as I call it, managing the volume of your personality. And then lastly, it is intentional growth. So let's dive into these really quickly and then we will move on, okay? So what does it mean to actually be self-aware? Now, in a recent video or podcast, I can't remember which, I did some research on this, and The majority of us believe we're self-aware, but in actuality, only about 10 to 15% of us actually are. So that leaves a lot of room for some of us to grow, correct? Self-awareness isn't as simple as you may believe. In order to be self-aware, it's important, and I talk about this inside my program, Project CEO, you got to understand what you need to do and be your best. What are your triggers? Do you have a plan for those triggers to mitigate them, to minimize them when they happen, to overcome them when they happen? You need to know how to set the appropriate boundaries. You need to know how to manage expectations of people. And more importantly, if you're going to be self-aware and you don't want to deal with a lot of stress and overwhelm and frustration and anxiety, you need to be able to teach people what you learned about yourself so that they know how to treat you. And then you need to hold them accountable for what you teach them so that they don't stress you out and cause you a lot of frustration and irritation. So if you want to be self-aware, you have to be introspective and understand these things about yourself. This is also going to help you be in alignment, or to align who you are with the things that you want and the plans and actions that you take to get yourself there. I believe that, in order to really have great relationships with other people, and I just talked about this in my training that I did for Master Networks, because when it comes to things like conflict management and things like that, you really have to know yourself, how you communicate, how you see the world, how you want to show up in the world as a measuring stick against the opposition, if you will. And I use the example of, if you are in a grocery store, someone's giving you a great recommendation on a product, and you're in the grocery store and you are measuring this amazing product that someone referred to you against the product that you already use, right? The only way that you have a way to compare is if you know your product, right? You'll know the difference between what you normally use versus what someone has referred to you. The same rule applies here with respect to self-awareness. You need to know yourself so well, how you show up best, the things that can derail you and trigger you into falling out of alignment with who you know yourself to be. You need to know what those things are so that when you see them, you can recognize them and you can avoid them, or you can minimize them. You need to teach people what those things are so that they will recognize them and not do the things that are going to derail you or frustrate you. So that is why it is so important. But with this whole idea of emotional regulation and managing the volume of your personality, you need to know where those lines are. I always equate it to the volume, because you have 0, where you are calm, cool, collected, you are just an easygoing person, to 10, where you are off the rails angry, you are off the rails depressed, you are off the rails frustrated, you are off the rails sad, whatever it is. So you need to know what 0 looks like, and you need to know what 10 looks like, so that in any given situation, you will know where to place the dial. Some situations require you to be at a 5. Some require you to be at a 3. Some just, are okay with you being at a 0. But you need to know that information for yourself, which is why emotional regulation is so valuable. Now, I've done this for myself. I really know my 0 and I know my 10. And, it's just a powerful tool to use when you are dealing with other people, because, I know my limits and I know how to remove myself from situations when I see people getting to a point where it's not going to be good for anybody involved. And I suggest that is something that you do too. This whole idea of self-awareness means your volumes. You know what that looks like for you in various situations. And then next is the intentional growth. Again, when you know yourself, you know the areas that are lacking. You know where your limitations lie. And there are situations where you have to do the work to grow, to be better. And it's important to be intentional about this, because you want to make sure that your growth is in alignment with who you are and the places that you are trying to go. If not, you could just be filling space and time and just wasting space and time, instead of actually working towards the things that you want. And then also, when you are intentional, it gives you the elements to measure. You'll know what to look at, what's working, what's not working. You'll know where you need to pour more time and intention into your day, into your activities. You'll know what needs to be done, and you'll know that, now is the time, that you'll have the timing for growth. and it'll be a lot easier for you to kind of fix something. Not fix, I don't want to say fix. Fix is a good term, because fixing requires you to create better habits or different habits. Fixing requires you to create systems where there are none, that can help you be more consistent, that can help you be less stressed, less irritated, because you have a process for things. With your workday, you can look at a workflow that's going to make you more productive. When you are intentional with your growth, with your activity, with your things, you are creating those habits, those systems and processes. You are managing your time. You're being more productive because you're being intentional with your actions and your goals and the things that you are setting for yourself. So when it comes to self-awareness, these 3 pillars are key: self-awareness, emotional regulation, and intentional growth. So let's move on to the next point that I want to make. Those were the 3 pillars of personal mastery. Now let's identify some shifts that will happen when you master who you are, when you become the CEO of you. I talked about this a little bit. One of the biggest transformations, I believe, when you master yourself is being able to teach people what you learned about yourself, so that they know who you are, so that they can align themselves with you when they need your help, when they are, talking to you and communicating with you. They will know sort of where your boundaries are when you set them and you teach people what those boundaries are. You're better able to manage the expectations of those people as you teach them how to treat you. And so a big shift here is some of the stress and frustration and your inability to say no can be minimized, because people will stop asking you for the things. They will stop, volunteering you for things without your permission. They will stop assuming that you are going to be there and do the thing, because you've taught them that you won't. You have set the boundaries, and you are now able to manage those expectations because you have been intentional about teaching people where those boundaries are, and who you are, and what you stand for, and what you are in alignment with, your values, your morals, the goals that you have for yourself, your family dynamic. People will begin to respect that more because they understand you've explained it, you've taught, you've set the boundary, and now you're managing the expectation. All right. An example of this is in business. I had a client at one time who was selling a health and wellness product, and she would show up at the networking meetings and she would push these products, and she would tell people how awesome they are, and she would try to get them to buy the products. And so she came and sat in my office one day, and we were talking. I did a little consultation with her. And the biggest takeaway that she tells everybody about now, and I'm so grateful for, she calls me her branding coach. But what she told people that I said was, this is a tool in your toolbox, but this is not who you are. And people can buy products like this on every corner, but they can't buy you on every corner. So what value are you bringing to the table? How are you showing people that value so that they want you specifically to sell them their health and wellness products? Because you are giving them so much more than just the product. So when it comes to teaching people how to treat you, this is also true in your business. You have to set the standards for who you are and how you want to show up and showcase your unique value proposition. That is where this comes from. You being very intentional about your self-awareness, your value, and then teaching people so that you can create those amazing opportunities on the back end, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a product that you're selling, whether it's a service that you are providing. Don't just look at the thing that you're selling, because anybody can sell the thing. Don't just look at the advantage you have in a particular situation. Don't just look at, why someone should do something, to purchase something from you or be in a relationship with you, and look at it from a selfish perspective. Look at it from a service perspective. I have this value and I want to share it with you in a certain way. And so when you have become self-aware and you understand that, and you have mastered yourself, this is a shift that will happen. People will start to come to you because of the person you are, because you are confident in that person, because you are offering value that they cannot get anywhere else. So this is an amazing shift that could help you in your personal and your professional life. So I encourage you to see personal mastery as a journey. It's not a destination. It's something that goes on forever and ever, because you're always learning and you're staying open to that growth and to that seeking knowledge. So I encourage you to really consider doing the work, putting in the work, being intentional, being introspective, to understand who you are, what you need to do, and be your best, so that you can share that with people, teach people how to treat you, set them up with the boundaries that you need to stay sane, quite honestly, and manage expectations of people so that they stay in alignment with what you need to do and be your best. So now I want to ask you, in this first session, what did you think? What do you think about the idea of personal mastery? Have you believed in the past that you were self-aware? And did anything that I talked about today with respect to the 3 pillars of personal mastery, or the shifts that mastering yourself can actually make in your business, tell me what encouraged you? Tell me what your thoughts are, what inspired you, what steps, right, are you going to take moving forward to master yourself? Because if only 10 or 15% of us have actually done that, then there's a lot of work for the rest of us to do. So if you're ready to stop playing it small and start showing up as the boss you are, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I am on a mission to grow it from to 1,000 subscribers if you're watching this on YouTube. If you are listening to this on the podcast, leave a review. People love reviews, and that lets them know that this is a great podcast to listen to. So please do that as well. And then you can also look in the show notes to find ways to connect with me on other social media platforms. And you can also leave comments and talk to me about other topics that you would like to see in our next season. All right, guys, that does it for this episode of the CEO Mindset Podcast. Thank you for listening or watching, whichever it may be. And I'm super excited to come to you with episode number 2 of this series, which we'll be talking about personal branding. And I look forward to that next week. All right, guys. Bye.
That does it for today's episode of the CEO Mindset Podcast. Remember, this is the place to be, to find the intersection between your personal life and your business life so that they coexist. It's also where you learn how to consistently evolve and be open to the failures that happen, be open to the opportunities, be open to the opportunity for change. Make sure you are subscribed. Leave your comments below about today's episode if you have any questions, comments, concerns. I want to hear all about them, and I want to hear how you are using what you hear to grow your business, live the life you love, and have that quality of life that we are all looking to achieve. All right, guys, don't forget to follow me over on Instagram, AF Patrick. Definitely subscribe to my YouTube channel, Andrea Patrick Official. All the links that you need to continue following and being a part of the Be You Boss Squad community is listed in the show notes, along with any other links that I think might be amazing for this particular podcast. Remember, we are on all the podcast platforms, so if you have not already, find us and subscribe. See you again next week.